I'm Rhonda Massad from the West Island News, and I am here with Marc Leroux. He is our resident specialist. We are doing the Real Estate Minute today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Rhonda. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Now we're going to get a little bit serious. We do some of these to keep you motivated and happy, but today is a day where we're going to do a reality check. We have a potential rise in interest rates coming up. And if that should happen, what is going to happen to those of us that have gone with the 5% CMHC covered deposit? What goes on? What am I going to do?
Well, I was having a conversation very recently with a real estate broker who's now retired but was in the game for 35 years and up. And one of the things that Paul said to me was, Marc, you've never seen a correction of the real estate in Montreal, have you? And I said, well, no. I've been a real estate broker.
Not as a broker.
I've been a real estate broker for 12 years.
Yeah.
And in that time, prices have always been going up. And the thing is, prices have been going up since 1997, slowly but surely. So that's 25 years now. Most brokers that are working today and most investors or buyers that are buying today have not bought and sold real estate prior to 1997 when these things did happen.
Okay.
And Paul told me some interesting stories about 1976 when Rhonda Massad came into power, 1980, 1981 when interest rates were at their max.
The 70s, we had 17%. I remember my parents talking about it, and it was such a big deal that I remember it as a child.
Yeah, and very good example. And they creeped up to 21% by 1981. So, and one of the things Paul said that was very interesting, he said, I did the average of the interest rates over the course of my entire career, and the number he came up with was an average of 9.75%.
Okay.
That was on average. So we've been living with interest rates of 2-3%, and we feel that that is normal.
And I looked at my one of my mortgages last night that's coming due, and it was like, my goodness, it's at 3.2.
Right. And people qualifying for loans today are in the neighborhood of 3%, and now in the spring of 2022. And so this has become the norm, that we can borrow money for this rate. But we forget, and even I forget, that a rate of 6-7% of interest rate is very plausible. It's
possible.
Could be considered normal. Once you've lived it for as long as we've lived this.
So now that impact,
yeah.
If my interest rate goes up, what happens to me? I've put the 5% in. What could potentially happen to me?
Right. So where it becomes problematic is when you get into the market today. Prices are increased. Prices are what they are. They're very high. You get in with 5% down. You have to pay 4% CMHC insurance on the loan because you're putting 5%. So just as an example, you find a place that's worth $500,000. You have 5% down, so $25,000. And the CMHC insurance is going to add $20,000 to that mortgage. So you're borrowing almost $500,000. And right now your payments are, let's say, $2,500, which you can afford because you have a good job and you make more than enough to cover that. Then over the next 3 years, let's say, interest rates double. It's possible. There's nothing in history to say that it won't happen. It could. There's nothing to say that it will happen either. But if it were to happen, and now your payments go from, say, $2,500 a month to $3,700 a month, or whatever it is, and now you can't afford it, and then one of you loses your job or gets into a bicycle accident, can't work for a while. Any number of little things come along, and you may be in a tough spot. So that's not to scare anyone, but just a word to the wise and a message of caution for people who are getting to the real estate market today. The one thing that can really save you, should interest rates go up or should you have any issues, problems in the future, is the amount of equity that you have in your property. And this will allow you to ride the storm if there is such a storm coming. So,
in other words, get a deposit, get enough of a deposit.
Yeah.
And I guess in one sense also lock it in, because if you've got a 5-year spread, if you've locked it in with the bank, they're kind of stuck to the 2.7 or 3.1.
So that's a great point, because a lot of people are looking at variable rates and saying that historically, variable rates are, you're saving money by going with a variable rate. But you don't know what your mortgage payment is going to be from one month to the next. So if the rates go up, your mortgage payment goes up. And so if you can't handle those fluctuations, you should go with a fixed mortgage with a fixed interest rate over a 3, 4, 5 year term.
Because you can protect yourself for at least 5 years of that
At least
story.
that amount of time. And then when the new interest rate is what it is, when you renew your mortgage, that may be when there's
So
some
you could, and you
decisions
could
to
probably see that coming. At least if you've locked in, you can
Yeah.
see it coming, and you can maybe jostle or sell your property before you have to sell your property.
make. Yeah. Even with what I've just said, I still think that the best time to get into the real estate market is now. It always is. You can buy properties that will, over the long term, maintain their value. Just make sure you have enough skin in the game.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you so much, Marc.
Pleasure, Rhonda.
How can my followers get in touch with you?
Come and see us at the cardinalrealtygroup.ca or follow us on social media, and we'll see you there.
Just as an aside, there's a lot of happening events and things going on Marc's, on the Cardinal Realty Group Facebook page. So check them out. They give you tips and tricks. They give you the latest listings, and they give you the events. They have community events that are really holistic and organic in our community. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Rhonda.
All right. Have a great one, everyone.
You too.